Well, let's bring on the, because I know the congressman, it freaking works out. So maybe we'll talk with the congressman about that. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, Congressman Greg Steube from the great state of Florida. Congressman, I know you're a man who enjoys yourself a nice red piece of bloody steak. But
I'm not eating bugs, Benny.
World Economic Forum.
I'm not eating bugs.
They want to see.
I'm not doing it.
When we met, I was like.
I mean, if I'm stuck in the Amazon and like living off the land and that's all I got, sure. But I'm not doing it. I had a nice bone-in fillet last night with, some lobster mac and cheese. That's more my speed.
My man, that's a good cold DC winter dinner,
That's
and
right.
You were in DC right now. I assume you've at least seen some of the highlights of Donald Trump talking to the World Economic Forum. Bro, the leftist movement has been completely and totally emasculated.
Yes.
Like they're like, I've never seen anything like it. It makes me a little nervous, and maybe you can speak to this, because you're obviously very, very good at seeing the political landscape as it is. But I've never seen the left-wing movement, who's behaved like such psychotic communist tyrants over the last couple of years, so neutered. They have no fight left in them. It seems like Donald Trump's winning in such great and quick succession that they don't even know what targets to pick anymore. Are you seeing that on Capitol Hill?
Well, yeah, and the American people know that they've been lying to us for 4 years. The mainstream media has been perpetrating lies, and so they don't even believe their positions on issues. They just ignore it. Yes. Trump came into office with a mandate. He was very clear about what he was going to do and when he was going to do it. Everything from immigration to energy to the J6ers, you name it. He talked about it. He said he was going to do it on day one, and he did it. And nobody, 90% of America is not surprised today. But you're right. Mainstream media is losing their mind. The left is losing their mind. And what's interesting is it's just like nobody cares. It's a great day in America because America is back. America's strength on the world forum and the world stage is back. And nobody cares what these crazy leftists on CNN or MSNBC are talking about anymore. Trump is all about action. He's all about getting things done. He's all about moving this country forward. And it's an exciting time to be in Washington.
Yeah.
When I first got elected, Trump was president, but we lost the House. So freaking Nancy Pelosi was in charge. And then Schumer was in the Senate. So you really couldn't get anything done. And it was impeachment hoax after impeachment hoax. And this is my first time in Congress where you've got strength and a Republican leader in the White House. You've got a Republican Senate and a Republican House. And I'm just excited about what Trump's doing. He's just doing it himself. Like I passed the women's sports bill, but he just did it by executive order. Now we still need to pass that bill, but he's doing those things that we need to do by executive order. And so like all of these things are happening at warp speed. It's awesome to watch.
So that must have been a moment where you stood up out of your chair and cheered when Trump's like, yeah, it's the official policy now that there's just two genders, male and female. That's how God made them. And that's how it's always been. And you don't get to like rewrite the rules of God. Which is like,
and what was interesting about that, of all of the things that Trump talked about, I understand that some of it was political, like maybe a Democrat can't stand up for, building the wall and deporting people. Maybe they don't obviously agree with that. But you would think that every American would agree that there's only two genders. When the president said that, because it was only members and senators and that sort of thing in the rotunda, every Republican member stood up and clapped. And there were Democratic members of Congress who were afraid to stand up and clap that there are only two genders in the world, and because they're afraid of their progressive left flank that would attack them for being against trans people. It's amazing how far the left has fallen. And they've left the American people behind because 80% of America doesn't think that biological men should be playing in women's sports. It's fascinating how far we've come.
So congratulations on that bill. Did you say that that's passed out of committee? Does it pass the House?
It's passed the House. Two Democrats actually voted for it, surprisingly, which also shows you the move of the country. Some Democrats are smart enough to realize that this is an 80% issue and we better get on board or we're going to lose our next election. Yes. It'll go to the Senate. Obviously, the Senate's very busy with confirmations and confirmation hearings, which they should be. That should be their focus so that President Trump can get his cabinet in place and move about doing the business of America. So shortly after that, I anticipate that Thune will take up the bill over there. And the great thing is it'll get a vote. Schumer wouldn't allow it to get a vote. Last Congress, the bill passed, but obviously it died in the Senate. And you will see where every United States senator is on allowing biological men in our girls' locker rooms.
Yeah. Okay. Well, as a father of daughters and as a father of 2 girls and 2 boys, I got to tell you, man, this is an issue that is very near and dear to my heart, and anything that we can do to help advance this. But it seems like you're going to have a very powerful ally in President Trump, who just messaged perfectly to such a den of snakes there at World Economic. Did you see the hissing and the tepid applause and the fear? It's incredible. So what
I loved about that speech is he knows that Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, Hillary Clinton were sitting behind him. And one of the first things he said is the decline of America is over.
Yes.
The golden age of America has begun. And he went issue after issue of the things that he needs to do, the things that he's already doing and that he has done, while Joe Biden sat back there and listened to every bit of it. I thought it was awesome how strong he put out what we're doing, what he campaigned on, and the direction that we're moving this country.
So you sit on the Intelligence Committee.
Yes, sir.
And some people who clearly haven't used their intelligence, or perhaps used their intelligence in a way that harmed the United States in incalculable ways, are the 51 intel experts who just got their security clearances stripped. Amen. Mike Pompeo just got his security clearances stripped. John Bolton just got his security clearances stripped. Got a knock apparently at midnight to say that he's also getting his Secret Service taken away. I don't even understand why that would be necessary for him to have Secret Service. Your take on this, on the rescinding of security clearances for people who have very aggressively lied to the American public for political purposes.
Yeah, think about this. 51 intelligence officers signed not an affidavit, but a letter, but stated that the Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. So they used their credentials in the intelligence community to try to proffer the lie to the American people that everything on Hunter Biden's laptop was just Russian disinformation. It was a hit job, and all of this to deflect from what was really happening with Hunter Biden and the Biden family. Trump was absolutely right to revoke their security clearances. I hope all of those people aren't going to be anywhere near any of our intelligence agencies, and I'm sure President Trump's going to ensure that they're not. Once CIA Director John Ratcliffe gets in, once Tulsi Gabbard gets in, once Patel gets in, once all of our intelligence agency heads gets in, they are going to clean house of all of these people who inappropriately use their position and their ability to access intelligence to the detriment of our country and lied to the American people. Think about, it was only 8 years ago, 10 years ago, the whole Russia collusion hoax, using FISA, getting warrants, Comey, using warrants to spy on American citizens that were part of the Trump campaign. All of that stuff has to end. I believe very strongly that Congress has to either do away with FISA or reform it significantly. But I believe that the president, the leaders in the intelligence agencies will do that.
It is a remarkable moment with the political energy that President Trump has, because now you have the will to power from the people to get these things done. I mean, it just is inconceivable, the type of quick action that they're taking right now to get rid of DEI, to get rid of affirmative action. I mean, affirmative action's gone. That's like that. That's been a curse around this country for 60 years, and it's just over. And it's incredible. I didn't actually know that was a note from LBJ, an executive order. But speaking of LBJ and the man who took the place of John F. Kennedy, under very mysterious circumstances, Donald Trump promising to release the Kennedy files apparently imminently. You sit on the Intel Committee. I'm sure there's plenty of demon screaming going on from people like Mike Pompeo, who stopped him from doing this in the first term. Can you give us an update on that, Congressman?
Yeah, we literally just had our first meeting today. So we're just getting into the committee, getting situated in the committee. So I can't comment on the specifics of that. But if the president's going to release the Kennedy files, and that's a decision he has the authority to make. And there's a lot of people in the American public that are very interested in what was really going on and how our government was involved in that. I've never received a briefing on that. And I look forward to reading whatever the president makes public.
Yeah, remarkable. Have you asked? Has anybody ever asked? Right, hey, the vast majority of the country, 80% of the country, doesn't believe that there was just one shooter. So Maybe you can brief us on that. We are members of Congress. We are on the Intel Committee. Has anyone even asked, like, the agency?
As I said, I just got appointed, and I'm very honored to serve on that committee. We had our first meeting today, but that's certainly something that you could request at some point as a member of the committee.
That'd be awesome. I know that you were just appointed, but just because it's been in the news. Anything on the drones, Congressman? Like, what the hell? Like they're just gone? Were they here just for Christmas, for fun? Were they?
Well,
were they
what's
sightseeing?
interesting is now that Trump's in the White House, you're not hearing or seeing anything about drones, which I find very fascinating. I'm sure the president's going to have. He had said on the campaign trail that he would make something public about what was really going on. So I hope that he does that, so that the American people know that their own government isn't spying on them.
Great. Given that you're a very muscular and outspoken member of Congress, you're also
That's not going to eat bugs.
That's not going to eat bugs.
bugs.
Obviously, you can't grow muscle eating bugs, and then you think that's the point, actually, to have a bunch of limp-wristed, like weak men in the world that you can control. That's actually the point. Speaking of weak men, there were plenty of weak men who have been protected somehow, inexplicably, by our intelligence agencies with the Jeffrey Epstein files, with the Diddy files, and so on. That's going to be, I think, a massive fight to release those. Kash Patel, this would be something that would go to his purview, obviously, at the FBI, where all this information is stored. But you would have oversight there as an Intel member. Will you be pushing for this, Congressman?
Well, I'm still trying to get my feet around the committee. We then get assigned to subcommittees that oversee the different intelligence agencies. Kash still isn't in, and he hasn't gotten confirmed. Ratcliffe hasn't gotten confirmed. Tulsi Gabbard hasn't gotten confirmed. So I think once those individuals in the Trump cabinet get confirmed, and they now have control over those agencies and the people that are there, you may see some of that information become public without us even getting involved. But that's certainly things that the American people and people in my district have reached out to our office about.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, it's like something that I think like the first step in creating trust with the American people is we're not going to protect predators, right? Like
100%.
Yeah, it's not what the government's here for. Ways and means. That's a powerful one, Congressman. Are we going to actually cut spending? Is DOJ actually going to work?
We are going to cut spending. The challenge is getting to a place. So the way the process works is the budget committee has to come up with a budget resolution for reconciliation first. Once they do that, it passes the House floor, it then has to pass the Senate. So all the negotiating right now is about what's going to be in that budget resolution. And if you look at the members of the budget committee, there's quite a few very conservative members in there. I'm not on the budget committee, but there's a lot of conservative members on there that feel the way I do, that we have to cut spending. We have to cut $2 to $2.5 trillion of spending at a minimum. We have to put ourselves on a path for a balanced budget. We cannot continue to run $2.5 to $3.5 trillion deficits every single year. It's completely unsustainable. Just in the short time I've been in Congress, I've only been in Congress 6 years. When I got elected, the debt was 20 trillion. It's now 36 trillion. So just in 6 years, we've put like $16 trillion on the debt. And running these type of deficits is completely unsustainable. There's programs in Social Security programs and Medicare that will be, by definition, bankrupt. They'll be expending more money than they're taking in as a program. So there is a lot of work that we have to do in Congress. But the first step of that is the Budget Committee coming up with a budget resolution for reconciliation that, in my opinion, absolutely has to cut spending and absolutely has to put us on a path for a balanced budget.
Congressman, I really appreciate your time here. I know we are short on it, but I have to ask you a question about some major news that was made last night. You talked about Joe Biden at the inauguration and how Joe Biden just had to sort of sit there and take it like a naughty little boy during Donald Trump's incredible inauguration speech. I think like an absolutely inspiring speech, best inauguration speech I've ever heard. But he just really ripped to shreds what Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Barack Obama had all done to this country. Last night, President Trump talked about how it was very strange that Joe Biden didn't pardon himself. He talked about this on Hannity's show, and that it was actually Joe Biden who was sort of the kingpin for many of these criminal operations that were being run outside of his presidency, right? So there wouldn't be any type of presidential immunity that would apply to Joe Biden. Maybe it could be open season on potentially pulling in for prosecution Joe Biden for some of the crimes in Ukraine, China, and so on. What say you about that? Donald Trump sort of teasing out here that maybe Joe Biden could potentially face some criminal consequences.
Well, it is kind of interesting that he didn't pardon himself and he pardoned his entire family. I mean, maybe he forgot. He seems like a forgetful guy with everything that's going on. But here's one thing that we should do and that Congress should do. I've called on Chair Jordan and Chair Comer to do this. We should bring in every single one of these people that were pardoned. They no longer have the right to claim the Fifth Amendment of the Constitution if they accept the pardons. And we ask them a whole bunch of really tough questions. And I'm not talking about in a hearing with cameras and all of that. We subpoena them to a deposition and we ask them all of the issues as it relates and surround all of the things, whether it be the Biden family, whether it be Anthony Fauci taking money from NIH and all these other things that happened with COVID, whether it be Liz Cheney and the J6 and the evidence that allegedly was destroyed from the committee that they took that was positive to Trump. We walk the dog on all of that. You have lawyers in the room on our side that literally deposed them for a long period of time to create a record because they can't claim the Fifth and hide behind the Fifth Amendment. So they have to tell us what they were doing. And if they don't, guess what? That's a new crime. It's called perjury and lying to Congress that would not be captured by the pardons. So that's, in my opinion, what we should do. You are going to get a trove of information if you do that for all of the people that he pardoned.
And then if they lied to Congress.
And if they lied to Congress, it's a new crime. You charge them and they get to experience what
Steve Bannon, Peter Navarro.
Steve Bannon and Peter Navarro had to deal with. Yep. Absolutely. 100%.
That goes to the DOJ. That goes to a Pam Bondi DOJ to prosecute. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, that's a great game plan. I would argue that the worst thing that you could possibly have is a bunch of lies to the American citizens who actually make this country operate. And the best way to restore faith is to simply tell them the truth. If that comes with criminal consequences, then whatever. I would like that. But either way, at the very least, you're establishing trust once again.
Yeah, but if they lie to us under oath in a deposition post the pardon, that's a crime that's not covered by the pardon, and they can be criminally liable for that. So I can guarantee you they're going to be very careful to tell the truth in those depositions, and they'll be able to tell us everything that was going on so the American people can see for a fact how corrupt the Biden family is, how much the J6 committee corrupted the investigation and didn't tell the American people the truth of what was going on here in the Capitol that day.
Ladies and gentlemen, Congressman Greg Steube, go over and follow. Obviously, somebody who is rip-roaring in Washington, D.C. He doesn't care if he makes any friends, but he has quite a few, and we're one of them. 102,000 Americans. Can't be wrong. Give the great congressman a follow, and without question, the best beard in Congress. Still, and it's getting better, Congressman.
I know. I'm letting it grow a little thicker. I was asking my wife, "You like it a little thicker, or I got to trim it down?" But as long as she's happy, I'm happy.
Happy wife, happy life.
I mean, the Twitter poll that we did on the beard was like 65%. So I think we're in a good place.
Keep it going. Keep it going, man. The era of masculinity reasserting itself. God bless you, Congressman.
All right. Good to see you, Benny.